I'm here to talk to you today about nervous system regulation. So the last live I did, I was showing you how I was shaking off one of my triggers. So our nervous system, our autonomic nervous system, has the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. Most of the time we function in the sympathetic nervous system, and often that is related to our childhood, because when we were children we were either left to cry, we weren't picked up, we weren't held, we weren't nurtured, we weren't told it was safe and we were loved, or we were having a tantrum or expressing some anger or some other emotion, and we were either made wrong for it, we were shamed for it, and we were told to just suck it up, or we were really sad and we were told to cheer up. So we never got to finish our normal sympathetic, parasympathetic, really goes the other way. Oh, yes, sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system loop. So we never came to completion of that loop. It was interrupted somewhere along the way. So many of us are walking around and we're triggered, and that trigger can be fight, flight, fawn, freeze. So for some of us, the reaction can be one of anger. We go into fight. We want to raise our voice. We want to stand in our truth. We want to tell people how we feel. For some of us, it'll go into flight. So we'll want to move away. We'll want to move away from any sort of conflict. We'll want to run and hide. For some of us, it's fawn, and we just go limp. We go numb. Sometimes we disassociate. Sometimes we'll actually leave our body. Or freeze. We'll literally be frozen to the spot. We won't be able to respond. Our voice won't work. There'll be adrenaline and there'll be cortisol flooding our system, and we'll feel like we're that small child that was abandoned and left to cry once more, or that small child that was told not to cry because they were sad, or that small child that was told, in my situation, I just did some integration around being beaten because we're all giggling around the dinner table and we hadn't finished our dinner. And so for me, what I just integrated recently was I had a connection in my mind that laughter and joy would get punished. And so for me in my lifetime, reaching those high heights of joy has been really difficult because there's this nervous system loop that keeps playing in my mind that I never got to actually enjoy my joy at that time as a child. So that's a personal situation for me. I'm sure you listening to this, you will relate to whether you go into fight, whether you go into flight, whether you go into fawn, whether you go into freeze when you're confronted with a situation. So last time I did a live, I was really triggered and I showed you how I shake it off. So movement is a great thing. So it's really good to flick our hands. That's why when we dance, we feel so amazing, because we're actually shifting and moving energy in our body, and our nervous system gets to release all this energy. Another way is yawning. You know, when we get up and we have a big stretch and have a big yawn, that is the body's own way of regulating our nervous system in the morning, preparing us for a calm day. Other things that we can do is sigh. We can and sometimes we'll find we will sigh through the day when overwhelm hits the body. It's a natural way for the body to let go, reset, regulate the nervous system. Another thing we can do, and we all know about this, we're hearing a lot more about breath work, and so it's just really changing our breath, being very focused on our breath, being present with our breath, and using the breath to regulate the nervous system. So we can do that in several ways. Now, my favorite and a very quick one is to breathe in. We can count for 4, we hold for 7, and then we breathe out. So we make the breath out, the exhalation, the longer breath. The breath in is shorter. We hold in order to actually set the nervous system, and then when we release through a long exhale, we literally can feel energy shifting in our body. I can feel it already. And so the inhale is the sympathetic nervous system, and when we have that beautiful long exhale, we actually then initiate the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and our digest. And you may have to do it a few times if you've been really triggered, or if you've gone into that flight mode and your body is in that fear mode and all that adrenaline and cortisol is flowing. You may have to do that breath a bit longer. And if you work in an office space, this is something you can take yourself off to the toilet and do to reset your nervous system. If you work with other people, perhaps you can sigh at your desk. They may ask what's going on. You can just tell them you're resetting your nervous system. So let me think. Humming. Singing. That's why we feel so great when we sing along with a song. So we can also also hum. That's why the Om is so powerful, isn't it? Om. So here's a few hints and tips for you to reset your nervous system today if you find you're triggered. And triggers don't have to be overt. They don't have to be where we go into our fight mode. They can be that flight mode where we just withdraw. We don't want anything to do with anyone. Social anxiety is a symptom of our flight mode. We've gone into our flight mode. When we freeze, we can't find our words. We can't find a way to address the person or the situation in front of us. It's a sign that we're going into our fawn, our freeze. And so these are just simple ways that I thought I would share with you to help you regulate and reset your nervous system. Of course, awareness is the other big component, is that if you are feeling triggered, if you are feeling like you want to run and hide from a situation, if you feel angry, there's nothing wrong with any of these emotions. We get told they're wrong. They're just energy in motion that's moving through our body, that's helping us feel and stay in touch. Our body is like a big telegraph. It's receiving signals all the time. It's sending signals all the time. If we can learn to integrate the signals that are coming in and move these signals, this energy through our body, we will find we won't react as much. We'll find we'll be able to reset when we do. And we'll just find that our inner system, our inner guidance system is in a lot more peace and calm on a more regular basis. And this is all the tools and techniques, small little tools and techniques that I wanted to share with you to regulate your nervous system. Because when you can regulate your nervous system, when all of us can start to regulate our nervous system, we'll find we won't have these huge highs and lows. We'll start to come into a little bit more of this style of pattern. And it does take time, and we do have to learn it. It is a practice. It is a practice to regulate our nervous system. So I hope this has helped. This is Beck from Beck Transformation, giving you some hints and tips on how to regulate your nervous system. If it has helped you and you've learnt something new, pop a comment in below. I would love to know. And if you'd like to see more of this, do pop a comment in below and I'll share more hints and tips with you. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day. Bye for now. Beck from Beck Transformation.